Wonderful. So good to have all of you. I think this is the most distinguished medical panel that I've ever hosted. It's such a privilege to have all of you here, and this is a great time where I think the entire country is looking up to your profession, and we're very thankful for all the hard work and extra mile that all of you are going in helping us in this current situation. Um, while there are a lot of information going on about how to handle the current situation, we want to talk to some really specialists, and we wanted to know how can we prevent it from a similar situation in the future, or rather, how can we be prepared as individuals, in the future. So that's primarily the objective of today's discussion. And firstly, thank you so much for taking time off your busy schedules. I know all of you are working today, and thankful that you could join in today. Um, so I want to ask a few leading questions, but if any of you have additional points, feel free to go ahead and share that as well. Dr. Nishant, I have a quick question for you. You're somebody who's handling multiple organizations as a corporate health advisor, and approximately how many professionals fall into your purview across how many organizations? I just want to know the breadth and width of how many people you handle.
Thanks, Ian, to start with, for bringing us together. Would like to pass on my thanks to you on that, because it's very important that we spend some time together and trying to share our thoughts. To answer your question, yes, my role exposed me to close to 480 corporates in Bangalore. Yeah.
480 corporates right now in Bangalore.
Yes. It's a stressful job, but then it also gives me the opportunity to really understand organizational needs, their requirements, where they stand in terms of their health quotient. Also, it gives me an exposure of understanding what really is happening in India incorporation when it comes to health and well-being.
Yeah. Dealing with so many corporates and so many professionals, thousands of professionals across all categories, all domains, all industries. I think you are probably somebody who's seen every possible combination that of working professionals right now. So thoughts about the state of health of today's working professionals.
Sure. In fact, it's coincidental that very in the last quarter itself we had a follow-up discussion with the industry leaders, wherein we shared the data from a survey which we have done within India, and specifically within urban working professionals, right, on trying to understand what is the burden of the top illnesses when it comes to the working professionals. It's such a staggering number, Indian, that we are talking about a huge burden on within the Indian working professionals, that group. We talk about, as we stand today, we talk about huge 3.5 billion US dollars, right, of productivity loss every year, right, due to health and lifestyle induced illnesses only in the Bangalore IT sector, right. I'm quoting this from the survey which was done. Uh, so that's a staggering. There's a huge burden, and I'm only talking of Bangalore only for the reason that probably this becomes point of relevance in terms of all the major IT and BT organizations are centered around Bangalore and Bangalore area. So that's one thing. Second thing is it's also important for us to know that Because of this staggering burden, we are also talking about moving from a reactive to a proactive approach. You know, when it comes to health management, when it comes to illness management, right? So I should acknowledge that the focus is moving towards that, right? We can save close to $20 billion only by approaching and adopting the method of being proactive towards the health. You know, so that's the numbers which we talk about. Yes, uh, there are specific. We have identified specific health, ailments and challenges which fall against the top contributors for this health burden. You know, that's how it is.
To see the health situation of an individual. I mean, I am really glad that you gave the corporate numbers, the industry numbers. When it comes to an individual, how do you see what is affecting him or her? What is the biggest concern that most individuals face? If you can throw a little more light on that before we can go and meet some specialists there.
We are able to identify the top concerns which an individual, in current working lifestyle, in current hectic lifestyle, or in current urban, semi-urban situation which they go through. Uh, a big 25%, concern from the health-related issues are related to the physical inactivity.
Okay.
Uh, this happens to be one of the major reason for contributing to these non-communicable illnesses, which I will also brief in a while. Reason being, physical inactivity, right? Close to 23% of the health concerns and challenges which we have recorded and which we know people face are because of emotional and mental well-being being disturbed, right?
You
Related
mean?
to the
Sorry, go ahead. Sorry, go ahead.
yeah. It's very important to note here that a big 18% of the health challenges which our working population, which an individual in current scenario faces, is because of poor diet and nutrition. Yeah, and 13% close to is because of substance abuse, alcohol, tobacco, and things like that.
Okay.
Yes.
Thank you, Nishant. So in fact, that leads me to directly to Dr. Mahadev. Dr. Mahadev is a practicing orthopedic surgeon, and thank you, doctor, for taking time and coming over, joining us. I guess whatever Dr. Nishant said directly leads to you in terms of he was saying such a staggering number as because of inactivity and physical inactivity. And as an orthopedic surgeon, how do you see the scenario? I mean, you're meeting a lot of people. In fact, I keep hearing a lot of youngsters complain about spondylitis, back pain. It's amazing. So, what do you think? What do you want to share from that, your perspective?
Yeah, hi, Ian. Great to back here again. Before that, let me introduce myself. I'm Dr. Mahadev here. I have an orthopedic surgeon consultant job practicing since past 13 years plus in Bangalore in multiple corporate hospital. The point here, what Dr. Nishant also was sharing is right. There is a lot of lot of challenges which the younger generation are now facing because of the lack of maybe the guidance from the parent side, or I don't know, maybe the individual effort is not there due to lot of fast paced the society is right now is so fast paced. They want everything in right one place, so they try to squeeze in everything by compromising on their diet and lifestyle, which required in day-to-day basis. So I also feel like whenever we see a lot of patient coming in with younger age group, especially in the mid 20s and mid 30s, with having a lot of back problem, joint pains, all this was not so rampant. Uh, Maybe a couple of maybe a decade back or so, but nowadays being challenge, these kind of challenges are very common in present generation Indian.
Right. In fact, I was just talking to somebody, and he was mentioning about how somebody gets up in the morning, gets ready, sits in a bike or a car, travels for 2 hours,
Yes.
they, walks, doesn't walk up the stairs. They take a lift, go to the office, sit there for 8 hours, take a lift again, come back, drive for 2 hours, come back and sit in the sofa and watch the television. So,
Yes.
yeah, so it's so what does it lead to? Because it's a very sedentary lifestyle. So, what kind of complications do you usually come across when somebody has such a sedentary lifestyle?
Usually, the problem is like the long-standing working hours, especially Indian, there will be in one posture and sitting long time. That itself will cause a lot of like biomechanical problems in back, lower back, and neck region. They land up with like lumbar and cervical spondylitis or disc problems, and these things are like correctable, but they tend to be in their own zone of working, and they are more involved in it, and they don't take care all these challenges as. And one more thing is what we observe is the AC, which is directly maybe the lowers or maybe near to the AC, people who are sitting have a lot of challenges than compared to the people who are away from those areas.
That's a amazing input from you, Dr. Mahadev. In fact, I want to ask Dr. Shravan. Shravan is a practicing pediatric specialist, and I think one of the biggest concern of every parent is the child's health. So you consult a lot of for a lot of children. So what do you see as the main concerns, Dr. Shravan?
Thank you, Vinian, for inviting me. Just let me introduce myself. I'm Dr. Shravan Kumar Reddy. I'm a practicing pediatrician in Mahadevapura. So when it comes to the children whom we see, so most of the kids who come to clinics or any hospital, so most of them will have common cold, especially upper respiratory infection, cold, cough, fever. 50 to 60% of the kids will be of common cold. The remaining 10 to 15% will be for major illnesses like pneumonia, diarrhea, all those things. And the remaining people are especially about feeding issues. Feeding issues in the sense, doctor, my kid is not eating well. Doctor, we are giving everything, but my kid is not willing to take anything. Especially 15 to 20% of the kids face issues, especially while feeding. In the sense that they may not be eating well, they don't accept everything, or else they may be eating too much of junk foods. All those things are the main concerns most of the parents have.
Right. I'm myself a parent of two children, and I can relate to what you're saying. In fact, I want to ask a question to Surbhi. Dr. Surbhi has been consulting for, again, working professionals especially, and working women, I think more specifically, for so many years now, over a decade. What are the main concerns that you come across, Dr. Surbhi?
Yeah, major concerns today in a lot of families, what we have seen and what I am experiencing is actually very dangerous if you look at the future. So a lot of young girls actually, are developing this problem called PCOD, which is a hormonal issue. Seen, when we were studying in, around 10 years back, we used to hear this problem only in 25 to 30-year-old women. Today we are seeing it in early teens, and that is very concerning because it directly says that there are hormone issues present in young kids. The other issue what very majorly we are seeing in every household is minimum of 2 people in every house have diabetes, which is very concerning again. Because diabetes is a lifestyle issue, and we are seeing that in every household today. Then if we talk of young boys, I have seen so many of them 23, 24 years old who have cholesterols, very high cholesterol levels, high BP, having some of the other underlying heart issues, coronary heart disease, very, very shocking. And that is a matter of concern for sure. And I in fact have not heard of a single person who have not told me they have an acidity or a gastric issue. Everybody today has that issue. And mm, you know getting it in 30, 35, we understand, you know because you've been on some medication. But young kids, 14, 15 years old, talking about acidity and gastritis is very, very concerning. And the other major issue what I have seen is infertility. It may be on both sides, man or a woman. They mm, a lot of this, the industry in infertility industry is booming because a lot of the young crowd are facing this issue. The and to my surprise, Indian, I have seen women who don't smoke, who don't drink, but are having chronic liver disease, which is their liver is shutting down, and that is again a very major concern.
So, Dr. Subi, what do you think are the main reasons for these challenges?
Indian, just like Dr. Shravan was mentioning, that a lot of young kids are having an obesity issue today. So most of these young kids' parents, are knowledgeable, because the literacy rate today in India is pretty good. So what I feel is most of the parents are not using their knowledge to their benefit. You know, their awareness is not being used to where they are supposed to use it. Now, definitely, the cause for most of these issues is that nutrition is being compromised at every level. You know, one has to understand that our body uh, makes its own immune system at every level. In fact, every organ has its own immune system to fight against everything and anything. But it if it doesn't get the enough and the correct amount of raw material to make that immune system, definitely it will be compromised. The food we eat is majorly responsible for making this immune system. Easy availability of food, if a mom cannot make something, instant noodles, instant food you heat and it is available to eat. Those kind of foods are definitely having a lot of preservative, and there definitely the nutrition is compromised. Wherever, whatever raw material what we give in our body will be compromised, it will some way or the other show in our body. It may show either in terms of cold, it may show in terms of something else, but it will definitely show in your body. So wherever the if you do not build the an example is, when you're building a building, if the cement is not of a good quality, it is definitely going to collapse with a little bit of a earth moving. But the same way, if the cement is good enough, the bricks will stay there. So that is what our entire immune system is about. And the beauty for our body is we can make our own immune system if we eat healthy.
That leads me to Dr. Shravan. So, Dr. Shravan, see, Dr. Subi was talking about how very young people have, much more serious issues. I mean, PCOD or difficulty in conceiving. All these are, very serious issues. I mean, which means, it's kind of starting somewhere in the childhood itself, right? So, what do you think are the reasons for these challenges among children?
the main reasons for most of the issues which we see in children, maybe it will be respiratory problems, not gaining weight, underweight, overweight, PCOD. Most of the things are because of faulty feeding practices. From the age of 6 months, from the time when they have to start giving complementary food to the baby. So these days, at the age of 6 months, when the parents have to start feeding their baby, first thing most of the parents are looking out instead of thinking of what they can give at home, especially healthy food, fruits, vegetables. Instead of those things, first thing is I won't say all the parents, but 50 to 60% of the parents are first thing they're looking for outside things. Especially at 6 months, if you say between 6 months to 1 year of Sedlac, Nestum, there's so many things in the market which are coming up new also. But most of the parents are looking after all those things. See, all the things which are being marketed outside, this contains more of sugary. It's all artificial sugars, artificial sweeteners. They have artificial flavors they will add. So all those things, in most babies in time of 6 months, if they eat more of artificial sugars, they start gaining excessive weight. That's the one reason. If kids are gaining excessive weight these days because of excessive weight gain and taking more of artificial sweeteners, in Bangalore, most kids below 5 years are suffering from either allergy or asthma. If you see, Bangalore has become the allergic capital of India. And in kids below 5 years, nowadays, many of the kids are suffering from asthma. That's one thing. And the other thing, if in our day-to-day practice, as we are seeing kids, on an average, any kid below 5 years will visit a hospital or clinic 8 to 12 times per year for these illnesses. Leave apart vaccinations, especially for respiratory problems, GI problems, especially acute gastritis, which is becoming very common these days in children because of faulty feeding practices, eating too much of junk foods. When it comes to Saturday and Sunday, 90% of the kids will eat outside. And by Monday morning, they come to clinic saying that, doctor, my kid is having stomach pain, my kid is having vomiting, diarrhea, all those things. And these things are becoming common these days. And the other thing which is very common in children is constipation. Because of lack of enough fiber in the diet, they won't eat enough vegetables and fruits. They won't supplement themselves. Because of all these things, nowadays, these are main issues we see in children. Because the diet which they take, they're missing on most of the things, especially the micronutrients. See, when it comes to macronutrients, most kids will take carbohydrates and fats because whatever food you take, either homemade, outside, it contains carbohydrates. They're missing on the protein part, which is very important for building the immunity. And the other things they're missing is micronutrients. Micronutrients, we say anything, all the vitamins, minerals, all those things they're missing on that. These are the main reasons kids are falling sick very often. They are facing multiple challenges these days.
But in fact, when you said that, that's when I realized. I mean, I thought it was very normal that parents feed the children with some ready-made stuff after 6 months. So how do you, I mean, not just 6 months to 1 year, because even as the children grow up, we all came out with, listening to advertisements, that this is good for growing children, everything else. So, you have anything to add there for little grown-up children also? What kind of solutions are available in the market? Or, are they solutions at all?
See, if you say about elderly kids, even elderly kids, most of the kids are taking nowadays, for example, if you want to say a school going kid, if you see a snack box, most of the kids will have either chocolates, biscuits, pizza, burger in the snack box, which is not at all acceptable. Okay, so these days, all these junk items are becoming more because it's first thing is easy for the parents to pack it, give it to the kids. Second thing, it's easy for the kids to take it. Most kids, once they get used to this, all these outside items, it's very easy for them and they want it healthy food. If you see whichever is easy to give or whichever is easy to accept for kids may not be healthy always. If something which is good for their health or which is something which increase the immunity, these things are very difficult to feed to children, and sometimes it may be difficult for the parents also to prepare it and give it to the children. And nowadays, because of all these faulty practices, many kids are gaining weight, especially in kids between 5 to 15 years. These days, we are seeing most of the kids are coming with excessive weight gain because of taking of this excessive junk foods, more of sugary items.
Wonderful. Thank you so much for detailing that. I would have missed it completely. Yeah. In fact, Dr. Mahadev, when Dr. Shravan was talking about it, I'm tempted to ask you this. Now, because when Dr. Shravan was saying some of the things, I was thinking these are common practices. And so, do you also see, as an orthopedic surgeon, are there any bad practices that you see which is leading them to joint pains and back pains and back issues?
The practices, maybe the thing is like everybody has to have a schedule of at least weekly, twice weekly, maybe not twice weekly, 3-4 days of regular exercises, which gives all the joints and body boost kind of thing to really work out better, and being every day out with only a mindset of doing work and coming back and relaxing and enjoying the life won't help. There has to be something to look back and see that there is something which is helping their joints and muscles by doing regular exercises day-to-day basis.
Thank you, Dr. Mahadev. Dr. Surbhi, how do you see the challenges, here? I mean, do you see any common practices which, which are leading to, these kind of complications that we've been discussing about?
Just like Dr. Shravan was mentioning that, people are thinking of easier methods than they are thinking of what is actually nutritious. The major concern which I have seen in a lot of households is the method of cooking. One is definitely, pressure cookers, because pressure cooking actually destroys the main nutrients of the food. It destroys the fiber which digests that particular food. In fact, Indian, I have seen that a lot of girls who are getting married, or boys who are going to an outer country, this is one gift where their mothers definitely give them is pressure cookers. So the other method what I have seen is aluminium cooking. Aluminium and non-stick are not good vessels or utensils to be cooked in, because both of these, the material leaches into our food and has been causing problems like Alzheimer's and Parkinson's. In fact, Indian, I have been personally working with a few people who at their 60-65 years have no problems, no cholesterol, no BP, no diabetes, but their brain cells have reduced function. And we have studies supporting this, that it is because of aluminium leaching. The other thing what I have seen is overly mashed food which is provided to the kids for easy intake. It destroys again the fiber, and it doesn't allow the mouth to chew and give the saliva, which is very important for the digestion process. The other thing what I have noticed is easy availability of soda, caffeines, and tea in offices. This causes a lot of problem because it is easily available and they are free of charge at multiple places. So I think people should start diverting their money into things which are more beneficial for the health and which keep the brain active for a longer period of time. than stuff which gives a shorter duration of alertness. People should start thinking about cooking in stainless steel or using iron vessels, or they should start using earthen pots, because those are good, for our health also, and they keep the nutrition intact. And but the only caution with iron is, again, you should not cook and store it in the iron vessel itself. Other than that, I think people should just have a look on these points and they would do better.
Such a scary thing, Dr. B. Dr. Nishant, so, having come across all these, professionals and situations that are there, what is the advice that you would give for working professionals?
Most important question, Inian, because a lot can be spoken about what is not happening or what are the issues around the world. But then, in my experience, when I speak to working professionals, individuals, if we don't have absolute clarity of what exactly is the root cause and how do we address it, everything else is just is a theory, is what I believe, right? I think I'll answer your question in a couple of parts. The most important being, which I have seen, is see our human body. It's not mathematical. 1 + 1 is never 2. Can you believe there are a set of 36 complex systems running in our body at a given point of time, right? And whatever we are blessed with the health is only because all those 36 systems should run to the absolute perfection, right? What I previously told, that simple analogy of maintaining the health of our automobile vehicle by periodic maintenance, it has a very deep sense in what can we do, whether we are talking about best protection against COVID-19. Tomorrow it can be something else. It can be a infectious disease, or it can be a lifestyle induced illness, be it diabetes, or be it hypertension, heart related challenges, issues related to the nervous system, digestion related issues. Primarily, the solution lies in the problem itself, actually. What basically is important is to understand that all these complex systems in our body are only to ensure that the body's defense mechanism, the defense system of the body, which protects us against any kind of external, germs or viruses, any kind of a disease-causing agent, that defense system has to be absolutely maintained and it should be up and running, right? Now, as I said, since biology is not mathematics, what happens is our body system is subjected to different kinds of stresses, and it is very dynamic, right? The hormone system in our body, is reacting very differently when we are asleep, when we are meditating, when we are taking healthy food, when we are, not exposed to high level of stress, both external and psychological. Whereas our body system reacts very differently when we are exposed to all these agents, right? Now, there is a limitation to what we can get exposed to, because these are external factors. But what is very much in our control is, are we putting enough nutrients in our body through a healthy diet, right? Which our body needs on a every second basis to fight against all these stress factors, right? And another analogy, if there is an old house, and if the storm comes in the village, the old house will demolish first, right? So that's how very true with our body system also. So I think that is one of the most important factor, that irrespective of whether the external factors are changing or not, the external challenging factors are less or more, we should do and adhere to the good practices in terms of ensuring that our body is getting enough of those nutrients on a daily basis, right? In my earlier discussion with you and the team, I remember mentioning that whatever we do in terms of prevention is definitely going to be any day cheaper and more effective than fighting or the treatment, right? So any investment which we do today, in terms of developing the habits, in terms of nourishing our body, is going to go a long way.
I've never thought of it, but that's a wonderful analogy. Yeah, we have a budget for vehicle maintenance, but we don't have a preventive budget for our own health. Thank you for sharing that perspective. Beautiful perspective. So, Dr. Shravan, can you quickly tell us, what is the one advice you will give when it comes to helping children improve their immunity?
So for improving immunity of the children, the main thing is from beginning 6 months onwards, they have to follow a healthy feeding practices. So for feeding children, they have to give balanced diet. What do you mean by balanced diet? So balanced diet means it should contain carbohydrates, protein, fat, micronutrients. Okay, everything should contain. How can we achieve that? For achieving balanced diet, we should see that we are giving a variety of foods. Means we should follow a minimum meal diversity. Minimum meal diversity in the sense, whatever food you are giving, it should contain everything. If you take a 24 hours day, in 24 hours, whatever you are giving to the baby, make a chart of it. What have you given the past 24 hours? So in the past 24 hours, have you met the nutritional needs of the kid? By analyzing in that way, we can see that day by day we can improve feeding practices, and so that all the nutritional needs of the children will be met. So being parents, all of us know how to Google. For everything, for common thing, for everything, we do search in Google. But when it comes to health, when it comes to healthy nutrition, and when it comes to what to feed, what not to feed, we forget that basic thing. All of us have smartphones in our phone. We know how to use that, how to Google. But whenever it comes to health, we forget that. Okay. And in India, whichever country you take, see, we'll go to doctors. We know there are many dietitians and there are many nutritional consultants and many other people who give us advice on nutrition, what food to take, what not to take, what is healthy for your kid, how to improve the immunity of your kid. But most of the times we tend to forget the basic needs. Okay. So nowadays, especially because of the influence of media, television, mobile, okay, whenever you see, there are many ads saying that this is good, this is healthy for your kids. There are many things which are being marketed. How to assess ourselves which is good for our baby, which is not good for our baby? First thing we have to start doing that. Only then we should know where to get. See, for example, if you want to give vegetables and fruits, first thing we have to see how they are grown. There are many organic things coming up now. Okay, and we have to look which is good for our baby. Okay? Because most of the things we see outside in the market, most of the things are nowadays they grown with pesticides. They have some other artificial things. We have to see that we are not giving all these things to our kids, so the health won't be spoiled. And other things, and we have to see what we are missing. If we're missing something in our diet which cannot be given through food, then definitely it has to be supplemented. Supplementation means definitely it need not be a medicine. And medicines are not always good. For example, just to give an example, parents which come to me, if I say you have to give healthy food, you have to follow minimum meal diversity, you have to give more of vegetables and fruits, all those things, the first question parent asks is, doctor, can we give a syrup to substitute for all these things? Medicines we can give, but medicines are not always good. For example, if you have an illness, definitely we have to give medicine for that. But
Right.
for maintaining general well-being and general health of your child, giving medicines is not good. You have to find supplements which are good, which are organic, which don't contain preservatives. Okay. So in this thing, by following these measures, maybe we can gradually start building up our immunity. And giving supplements or giving healthy food, it won't mean that for example, if you want to maintain fitness, going for gym or workout for 1 week and feeling thinking that I went to gym for the past 1 week, so I'll be healthy and I'll be fit for my lifetime. It's not that way. So giving healthy food or giving supplementation to fill the gap to meet the nutritional needs means it's an ongoing thing from the time you start feeding your baby from 6 months until through your complete life. Taking it for 1 week or 1 year and thinking that I'll be healthy for my lifetime, it will never happen.
Thank you,
So
Shravan. I'll quickly ask the same question to Dr. Mahadev. Uh, one of the common concerns that I hear from working professors, Dr. Mahadev, is they don't have time to work out. They don't have time to exercise. So what do you think? How do you think they can get into an active lifestyle? Do you have some inputs on that?
To say, I want to address all the working professional here two ways. Both they can be prepared for the whatever challenges present life or present challenges what they are undergoing or in future throughout the life. They actually have to have a game plan where you can daily basis they can overcome with the challenges whatever they come across, both internally as well as externally. Externally being be more proactive towards their physical hygiene and health, especially if they are into in profession where they not used to have lot of physical movements throughout the day, better to engage themselves using instead of lift they have to use a staircase or going by near places, instead of using some mode of transport, they can walk down and get the job done, thereby they can enhance their body to expose to sunlight, and that itself is a good exposure required daily basis. And otherwise also instead of being late and getting late in the office, better to get early in the morning, little 20 minutes to half an hour, get some exercises done, thereby that energy will give boosting for them to throughout the day to work long time also, and they will have a better health perspective. Yeah, and externally, the what else they require? They require a good air to breathe and the good water. These are the basic basic requirements. Now, especially seeing the countries throughout year, there are multiple challenges they come across. So it's better to seek where some source or somewhere they might get to know things is because nowadays easy to access anything which has a good quality of air to have in a like spaces either in home or in offices, or especially for me like a clinic where I practice. So and even the water source also, they can manage all those things. They, if they want, they can have a good quality there, especially water and the air they breathe. And obviously the amount of food what they have also, it's means it has to be having a right choice, not whatever they have they can means it's not the hunger killing food they have to take. They have to have a quality food there also, either home cooked or outside cooked, whatever it is. They should at least address that point also. Internally, see, I came across like not me alone, throughout maybe Asian race, I believe there is lack of lot of vitamins in our body, especially the main vitamins like vitamin D, vitamin B, B12, all these groups they lack. Most of the individuals they lack in that. So I think they should address this also, because especially this vitamin D helps lot not only in for calcium metabolism or to keep our bone and joint healthy, even it has multiple roles in other areas like even defensive immune defense system also. So it helps in anti-inflammatory and immunoregulatory properties also, where it enhances the T cells and macrophages, thereby it prepares itself the defensive mechanism which body requires. So I think people should take care, and they should have, if the like person will have a optimal levels all these areas, they will be better to live longer life without any challenges, health challenges especially. So these areas should be addressed by taking, like as Dr. Surbi also was speaking, they need to have a quality fiber also in their diet. Thereby, thereby they can, whatever they are taking, it should retain in the body. That fiber, if it is there, that will make sure that is retained. So not only one, I address one system and I don't address this system, it can't happen. It has to be a multitask. Like you should have all the nutrients which are required for the body, minerals or vitamins, whatever it is. So I feel this should address all the present generation with taking care all the required field to have a better quality of life.
Wonderful, Dr. Mahadev. That's really nice. Thank you for sharing that. Dr. Surbi, you consult a lot of working women. So, are there any specific challenges concerning working women?
Definitely, working women are having a lot of challenges because if they stay in PGs or they are staying at home, uh, the amount of time and energy which they are able to put in is very less. If they are working, if they are staying in a PG, definitely the nutrition of the food is majorly compromised. And women need a lot of nutrition because of our hormones. And if the nutrition is not given in a certain amount, our uterus definitely goes on a toss. And that is one major challenge. Stress, which married working women go through, is also causing a lot of problem because they also, as I was mentioning before, easy availability of food which is not nutritious, they end up taking that which only fills the stomach, but it does not reach our immune system and it does not give that strength to our hormones and uterus, and that is a major concern.
So, Dr. Subi, given the current scenario, so what is your advice for working professionals as well as homemakers?
The working professionals and homemakers, they should be very careful about what kind of food they actually eat on an everyday basis. One thing is people should consume the food they make that day on the same day, because refrigeration and over reheating destroys the nutrition. So that is one thing they should be careful about. The other thing, they should always look at their plate as a whole. It should consist of, a proper amount of fiber, protein, carbohydrates, vegetables, their greens, and definitely good amount of good fat. Because it should not happen like they say, we have our salads, but it is only once a week, which is a Sunday. Fiber taken on everyday basis helps the body. One thing, they should think about is, always homemade food is not nutritious also. A whole meal is nutritious. Just taking a rice along with a homemade pickle doesn't make the meal nutritious. The rice with the proper amount of ghee on it, little vegetables, homemade pickle, dal, curd, all of these put together makes it a healthy, nutritious home meal. So one should be very careful when they are looking at it as a whole. So for working professional homemakers, this is what I suggest, that look at it as a whole. Don't look at it's a homemade, so it is healthy. It's not that way. You should look at it as a whole.
Wonderful, Dr. Survi. Thanks a lot for sharing that bit. I think you made it more practically possible. It looked like there were too many instructions to overcome all these things, but looks like it is possible for in the busy times also. Once again, I want to thank each one of you for joining us on this discussion. I'm sure there's a lot of value add that you brought in, and we are hoping to share this with a larger audience. And if there is another opportunity that we can get your time and pick on your brains as to what are the other practices that we can do, we will do that. Thank you so much for joining again. Have a wonderful evening.
Thanks, Amy. Thank you.
Thank you.